Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial from the Paint Couture creative team. I'm Melinda from MTZ Crew Designs, and today I have a short video that shows you how I turned this rather boring vase into something a little more interesting. I'm going to be using this decoupage paper from Grey Gardens Designs. And I've cleaned the vase thoroughly just to make sure it's ready for painting. And I'm starting off by using Paint Couture's Premium Plus 2-in-1 primer in the color white. And I'm just going to give it a really good coat, a good even coat all over the vase. This is going to promote adhesion so that my paint sticks to the vase better. And it actually also doubles as a white paint for my decoupage paper. I like to use white paint underneath my decoupage papers because you get much better visibility of the colors in the paper when you have paint in the color white underneath the paper. Now that the primer is dried, it's time to decoupage this paper onto the vase. What I'm doing here is just measuring the placement of the paper so I know exactly where to trim the paper. So I'm just kind of centering it here in the vase and kind of getting a guesstimation of how much paper I need to cut off. So in order to trim the paper, what I'm doing is just using a little bit of water to kind of put an invisible line, I guess you could say, where I measured to cut the paper off. And in doing so, I'm able to then rip the paper back so that it's kind of a jagged edge tear instead of a straight tear from a pair of scissors. And this will just make it easier to blend in colors when I start adding the paint. In order to decoupage this paper onto the vase, I'm using Paint Couture's Decoupage Medium in matte finish. I'm just laying down a layer of the decoupage medium and then putting down the paper and just little by little adding a little bit of decoupage medium and a little bit more of the paper to make sure there's no air bubbles. I do use a balled up bit of plastic wrap to help push out air bubbles. And then once the air bubbles are all pushed out, then I'll go back over the decoupage paper with more of the decoupage medium. And going back over the decoupage paper with this medium again is what acts as an adhesive to get the paper to stick onto the vase. And then I'll just leave that to dry for a little bit. And now it's time to paint, and the first color that I'm going to use is from the Paint Couture Acrylic Mineral line. This is the color Peace, and I want to give the illusion of texture, so I'm adding a little bit of Saltwash texture additive. Actually, I'm adding quite a bit because I want the paint to be really, really thick. So once it gets to the consistency that I'm happy with, then I'll just use a brush and start stippling it onto the back of the vase because I want to create the illusion of texture, but I also want the paint to kind of blend in with the colors that were there already from the sides of the paper. So I have pretty much a first coat down, but I go back in with another coat of the same paint, just doing kind of a dabbing, stippling motion just to get those crevices and that texture built up on the vase. And then once I like the way it looks, then I'll just leave that to dry. Now this is completely dry, and as you can see, the texture almost has like a natural aged look to it. You wouldn't have thought this was glass behind here, that's for sure. So that's really nice when you add the texture additive into the paint. Just kind of gives it a grungy feel. And so I would like to build some highlights back here now. And what I'm doing is I'm using the color Angelic, which is also from the Couture acrylic mineral line. And I'm just doing a dry brushing method here. So I have a little bit of paint in my bowl, and I'm just getting a tiny little bit put on the brush and just wiping a lot of it back off of my brush. So it's just a dry brushing technique. So in doing that, it's just going to get paint on the raised areas of the texture behind the vase, and it just provides for more highlights and dimension, rather than just going in with white and just saturating the color that we've already put down previously. And now I'm using the color Sea Glass, and I'll also use Red Velvet and Pitch Black, also from the acrylic mineral line. And I'm just going to build off the colors that are already in the paper. So I want to enhance some of the colors in some areas. In some areas, I'm just doing touch-ups. So yeah, that's all I'm doing with these accent colors. And now that those paint colors have all dried, I'm going to use my favorite top coat, which is sheer gold from their sheer metallic paints from Couture. And when you open these bottles, you just want to stir really, really well before you start applying the paint. But this is going to go on white, but it dries clear. It is sheer, and it will have deposits of, in this case, gold left behind after the white dries. Couture also makes this in sheer bliss, sheer indigo, and sheer scarlet. It has now dried, and now you can see the gold here that's been left behind after it's dried clear. And I did use some gold gilding wax at the top of the vase here just to give it a little bit more character, I guess you could say. And here's the final look and all of the products that I used today. If you feel inspired by this project or you'd like to try any of Couture's products, please feel free to use my affiliate link that will be located in the comments down below. And again, I'm Melinda from MTZ Crew Designs. Thank you so much for watching the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future content from their Couture creative team. Thanks a lot. Bye.